Here's where we are in the governance series. We completed phase 1, seeing the system, letters 1 to 12. We are in phase 2, designing the system, letters 13 to 30. We completed stage 1, entering design, letters 13A and 13B. We completed stage 2, stabilizing the core, letters 14 to 17. We completed stage 3, seeing clearly, letters 18 to 20. We are in stage 4, from activity to coherence, letters 21 to 23. We just completed letter 22B, when everything is a priority. We are in letter 23, when authority depends on people instead of structure. 4 stories, 4 industries, 1 structural pattern beneath all of them. Letter 1 named the condition directly. Governance becomes personality dependent. A high performer resists process because it slows execution. A leader avoids confrontation because the individual in question owns too much knowledge. Slowly, quietly, authority migrates from the structure to the person. Letter 8 showed it in practice. The vice president of sales chose not to use the formal pipeline system the organization had built. He operated from memory, from relationships, from personal control. Leadership tolerated it. We cannot disrupt performance. We rely on this VP. The system remained in place. Authority moved outside it anyway. Letter 10 showed it forming inside an AI initiative. No policy changed. No committee approved anything. Yet the signal shifted from discovery to confirmation, and people aligned themselves to whichever interpretation of success felt safest. Letter 3 showed what it looks like at scale. An airline executive describing an organization no longer operating through coherent structure. We are not even in a position to be reactive. Years of accumulated workarounds and compensating behavior had replaced the structure that should have been coordinating the work. Different industries, different situations, different people, the same structural pattern. Whenever structure weakened, personality expanded to fill the space. Personality-based decision-making occurs when decisions depend on who is present rather than on the structure designed to support the decision. A respected engineer can bypass review. A senior executive can override established authority. A founder's opinion can become more influential than the governance process. A long-tenured employee can become the unofficial source of truth. None of this requires bad intent. Many of these individuals are highly capable. Many have earned trust through years of experience. Many have helped the organization move forward during periods when the structure itself could not provide sufficient clarity. The pattern does not emerge because strong people exist. It emerges when the organization becomes dependent on these people to perform work the structure was intended to carry. The design response is structure-based decision authority. Its purpose is not to reduce the value of experience, expertise, or leadership. Its purpose is to ensure that authority survives changes in personnel, growth, succession, and time. The organization keeps benefiting from strong people. It stops depending on them for structural stability. Let us ask our resolution design questions. Question 1. How is the question asked and when? The governing question is, if the most influential person involved in this decision were unavailable tomorrow, would the organization still know exactly how to make this decision? The question is asked during the design of decision authority, before governance responsibilities are assigned, before escalation pathways are approved, before major initiatives are launched, before authority becomes dependent on habit, relationships, or influence. This question does not identify strong personalities. It determines whether authority resides in the structure or in the individual. When the answer depends on a name, the structure remains incomplete. When the answer depends on a documented authority role, the structure is beginning to hold. Question 2. Who holds the accountability for answering it? 3 authorities belong in the same conversation before the decision structure is approved. The person assigning decision authority, the person accountable for the outcome affected by the decision, and the person accountable for governance oversight of the decision pathway. Each independently answers the governing question. Can the authority be located in the structure? Can the decision proceed without relying on personal influence? Can a new person assume the role without inheriting undocumented authority relationships? Without all three present, the organization may document authority. It will not design authority. The distinction becomes visible only when leadership changes, personnel leave, or unexpected situations emerge. Question 3. What does the governance structure look like when this has been resolved? Structure-based decision authority is visible in the governance record when 4 things can be demonstrated. Major decision categories have documented authority ownership. Authority boundaries are documented alongside those decision categories. Escalation pathways identify authority roles rather than individuals, and decision records identify the source of authority that supported the decision, not who happened to be present, not who carried the greatest influence, not who everyone naturally deferred to. The authority itself. When those elements exist, the organization no longer asks, who do we need in the room? It asks, where does the authority reside? Picture the next major initiative launching under this design. A respected executive retires. A founder becomes less involved in daily operations. A highly influential manager moves to another role. The organization continues operating, not because those people were unimportant, but because the authority they once carried personally has already been transferred into the structure itself. How do these 6 patterns compound? Stage 4 began with a single question. How does an organization move from activity to coherence? The answer never lived in one structural pattern. It lived in how 6 of them compound. Local optimization starts it. A department performs well while the enterprise it belongs to weakens. Incentive inversion deepens it. The rewards driving that department's behavior pull further from the strategy the enterprise actually needs. Strategic overload compounds it again. Leadership responds to underperformance by launching more initiatives, dividing the attention that was already misallocated. Leadership signal inconsistency compounds it further. Competing executives describe success differently, so the new initiatives inherit conflicting definitions of what they are even for. Cultural fragmentation embeds it. Those competing definitions calcify into different behaviors in different parts of the organization, until departments are no longer operating from one shared understanding. And personality-based decision-making completes the cycle. Wherever the resulting confusion makes structure insufficient, an influential person quietly fills the space because someone had to decide, and the structure is no longer the one deciding. Each pattern does not just coexist with the others. It feeds the next one. That is what makes stage 4 different from a checklist of 6 unrelated problems. The 6 patterns are a single mechanism observed from 6 different points along its path. We will call this single mechanism strategy, execution, disconnect. Years ago, a vice president from a major airline reached out for help assessing the organization's IT service management environment. Within the first few minutes, he said something that has remained memorable since. You know how some companies are proactive and some companies are reactive? We're not even in a position to be reactive. That statement was not about technology. It was about structure. An airline coordinates aircraft maintenance, flight crews, customer information, baggage systems, airport operations, scheduling, security, and customer service, each depending on the others. When the structure connecting them becomes unclear, the effects compound rapidly. The executive had a strategy. The organization had priorities. What was missing was the design connection between what leadership intended and what the structure was actually capable of producing. This is strategy execution disconnect, and it is not produced by any single pattern. It is what 6 compounding patterns produce together. Local optimization pulling effort away from enterprise outcomes, incentive inversion rewarding competing behavior, strategic overload dividing attention, leadership signal inconsistency creating competing interpretations, cultural fragmentation embedding those interpretations into behavior, and personality-based decision-making filling the space structure was meant to hold. The result is predictable. Leadership communicates a direction. The organization produces something different, not from a lack of talent, not from a lack of commitment, not from a lack of effort, but because the structure itself is producing a different outcome. This is why executives so often diagnose strategy execution disconnect as a talent problem. It is almost always a structural one. Stage 4 was never about identifying flaws. It was about revealing the structure is capable of producing coherence, intentionally designing the connections between ownership, incentives, priorities, authority, behavior, and execution. When those connections exist, strategy becomes operational. The structure begins carrying what leadership intended every day without depending on who happens to be in the room. Here's what follows. Stage 4 closes here. The organization can now see how strategy becomes execution, how ownership, incentives, prioritize, authority, behavior, and signals shape what the structure ultimately produces. One reality remains. Structures do not stay aligned simply because they were designed. They stay aligned because they are maintained. The same forces that created the original patterns do not disappear once a design response is in place. They become harder to see. A small exception here, a workaround there, an undocumented decision, a leadership transition, a process bypassed because it seemed faster, a signal interpreted different than intended. None of these events look significant in isolation. Gradually, they can begin reshaping the structure again. Stage 5, preventing regression, is built to catch exactly that. It asks one governing question across the 7 patterns it resolves. Does what the organization designed continue to hold across time, role transitions, and environmental change? Or does it quietly return to what it was before the design was built? Where stage 4 built the design, stage 5 builds what keeps the design from being undone by the very forces that made it necessary in the first place. Thank you.